So I've been slowly bulking over the last few months, and I've definitely learned some things in doing all of this. I've gained about 15 pounds since last fall, and my current weight right now is sitting around the mid 180s. And this is definitely the heaviest I've weighed since before I even started this fitness journey back before 2021. Now keep in mind, when I did start my fitness journey, I had lost about 20-ish pounds, and I maintained a body weight for a couple years within the mid 160s. So doing this bulk over the last few months has definitely been some new territory for me, and I'm discovering some pretty interesting things. The first thing that I learned here in bulking, especially being that I was so used to being calorie restricted, is I just felt overall a little bit less healthy. Now part of this was my fault because when I started the bulk, it was the holiday time and I was eating a little bit more indulgent food, and overall that just slowed me down and made me feel a little bit more sluggish. And that's the one main thing with bulking, is when you start a bulk, especially if you're used to dieting pretty hard, it can be pretty easy to justify eating more food because you're trying to grow. But this did not last for too long because I decided I need to clean this up a little bit. So over the last couple months, I've really cleaned up my diet. If you've seen one of my recent videos on the dangers of calories in versus calories out, I actually do discuss this. If you want to click up above, you can check that video out. But what I've really done here within this bulking phase is still put a big emphasis on eating whole foods, as well as a focus on consuming essential vitamins and minerals that my body needs every single day. Speaking of micronutrients, this video is sponsored by Gem, and I'd love to take a quick moment and tell you about the Gem Bite Daily Multi. Now we all know the importance of getting micronutrients in our diet, and probably one of the worst ways to do this is just taking like your average daily multivitamin in some kind of pill or a gummy or a powder. It's much better to source these nutrients from real whole food, and that's what makes this Gem Bite Daily Multi so freaking brilliant, is because it does just that. And here's the crazy thing, even if your diet is really dialed in, 90% of Americans are still nutrient deficient. And so that's where Gem is able to fill in those gaps in your daily diet with real whole food sourced nutrients in each tasty bite. And yes, they do in fact taste quite delicious. Gem actually worked with a pastry chef to make sure every bite is a little soft and chewy, as well as tangy and just a little bit sweet. And here's the ultimate thing, real food gives you real results. And just look at these real food ingredients in every single bite. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Now personally, I've been taking the Gem Bite Daily Multi every day for a couple of weeks now, and I've already noticed improvements in my overall energy levels, as well as mood, better digestion, and my hair, my skin, my nails are all feeling and looking healthier. So honestly, this is a no-brainer for me, and it should be a no-brainer for you. I've done you a favor and linked Gem below in the description, and right now, Gem is offering you 50% off your first month. All you have to do is go to dailygem.com/BryanAdamC and use my code BryanAdamC at checkout to get this deal. Now the next thing that I've learned here, being that I've only been bulking for about 5-ish months, is that putting on muscle takes so much time. I think it probably takes even more time than burning off fat. Now keep in mind, I'm doing all of this as a natural, so the only supplement that I'm taking is creatine. And don't get me wrong here, I'm putting in some very hard work training. I mean, it seems like I'm constantly sore and in recovery mode as well. Like, I can understand why dudes want to resort to jumping on steroids and getting enhanced because it just speeds up the process. But this for me is completely off the table. I'm gonna be 37 this year. I plan on having a family. I'm not trying to juice up just to have a few extra pounds of muscle that, like, what, just so I can get more clicks? No. I don't care about that. I want to be healthy. That's such a massive message that I hope resonates with you on this YouTube channel. And so if it means that putting on muscle takes a much longer time, that's completely fine with me. And you know what? That's just going to teach me patience, and I really do enjoy the process. The next thing that I learned here is that in order to properly bulk, you just have to embrace the fact that you will inevitably put on some extra body fat along with some of that extra muscle that you're putting on. Now, some people say you can gain and slowly grow muscle and still stay lean, and to some extent that's definitely true, but I think a pretty large consensus across the fitness industry is that if you're gonna properly bulk, you're gonna put on body fat, and having a little bit extra body fat is gonna create the most optimal situation for you to actually put on muscle. If you're just too lean, it's just gonna take even slower, and again, especially as a natural, it's almost impossible to really put on adequate muscle without really being in a quality surplus. And you know, it's kind kind of discouraging because you look in the mirror and you see some lower abdomen fat, you see the love handles. My face isn't as chiseled as it is when I'm in the 160s, but when you understand that it's part of the process of putting on muscle, and you also know I'm gonna diet this off in a few months anyways, it's okay. And also keep in mind the opposite of this happens when you're cutting. When you diet down and try and lose body fat, you're gonna also lose muscle. So basically the reverse outcome happens. And this is just the natural process. It's what the body does to accommodate a calorie surplus or a calorie deficit. Now, the other thing that I'm learning, and especially after a couple years of dieting pretty hard, is now that I've been on a bulk, my workouts have been freaking fantastic. I've got plenty of calories in my system. My glycogen stores are pretty much always full, especially if I've gotten a good night's sleep. My workouts are just pretty much constantly amazing. So this is the one thing about being on a bulk, is that it makes the strength training honestly fun. The pump is crazy, and that's probably been the most enjoyable part of the bulk. Now, the other thing I'm learning is that taking rest days as well as getting adequate sleep are both crazy important. Now, regarding the rest days, lately I've been averaging about 3 days on training and then 1 rest day. Sometimes it ends up being 2 days, sometimes it ends up being 4 days worth of training, but I'm really padding in rest days a lot sooner just because I'm really trying to create as much time as I can for my body to recover and grow. I've also been trying to sleep at least 7 to 9 hours a night, and I've been hitting that quite well. Man, if you can dial in your sleep schedule, it just makes the bulk and the growth process all the more worth it. Now, the other thing I'm learning here is that I'm pretty much always full. I wake up in the morning, and within an hour of waking, I'm eating my first meal, and I'm averaging about 4 to 5 total meals a day, and I'm eating at least 3,000, if not more, up to 3,500 calories a day. And while I still really do enjoy all of the food that I'm eating, it's just not quite as fun because I don't know if you can relate to this, but when I'm dieting, the food, it just hits better as opposed to like, all right, another meal, I'll just get this down and move on to the next one. It's not really a complaint, but it kind of is. That's just something you got to get used to. Embrace the fact that you got to eat because you got to hit your calories so you can continue to grow. In terms of my macro split, I'm probably averaging around 0.8 grams of protein per my pound of body weight, so at least 160 grams of protein per day, and then just eating plenty of carbs and fats. I really haven't been tracking a ton of food super hardcore. I have a really good idea of about what I'm eating, and I'm just making sure I'm watching the scale, looking in the mirror, making sure I'm not putting on too much excessive body fat or feeling too bogged down with too much food. In all honesty, I wish I would have bulked sooner. Like I said earlier in the video, I spent the first couple years of my fitness journey just being super focused on dieting and a calorie deficit. And I think this kind of impeded on my ability to really grow and put on quality muscle. And that's a big reason why, if you saw the twin series, why I had my twin brother really focus on putting on muscle first before we had him cut. And if you haven't seen that series, definitely go check it out. It was pretty amazing, and his transformation was just insane. But I think that's the biggest thing that I'm learning from this bulk, and kind of found a rhythm between a few months of bulking and then a few months of cutting to where I could get to a comfortable place where I have a fairly developed physique and I can really cut from that, and you're just going to get better and crazier results. Now, being that I have spent quite a few months bulking, at this point I think I'm ready to go back into a cutting phase for the next 3 or 4 months. So I probably want to cut down to like the 170s, maybe drop about 10 pounds and kind of reassess from there. And honestly, as long as I am feeling good and as I continue to get my blood work done and all of that checks out good, then I'll probably continue some kind of phase of bulking and cutting and just enjoy the process of all of it. As always, if you need good music for your videos, definitely go check out moodsounddesign.com. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I really do appreciate each and every one of you, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.